I don't know how to put this question, but does the relationship between the devotee and the sadhguru, does it change with time?
Yes.
How?
It gets more and more strengthened. Any relationship changes. Everything in the world changes. And as a part of it, it also changes. The change doesn't mean the other way around. It transforms. Transformation is also a change, isn't it?
And how does it strengthen?
It strengthens.
Yeah.
It becomes stronger and stronger. First, we come once in a year, just for a holiday. And then after some time, that even if there is no holiday, we want to come. And later we want to stay longer and longer, and taught completely. Is it not strengthening?
ఇప్పుడు ఇది ప్రాపంచికము ఆధ్యాత్మికాన్ని రెండు సపరేట్గా తీసుకోవడానికి ఒక బ్యాలెన్స్ స్ట్రైక్ చేసి జీవితం సాగించాలా, లేకపోతే ఈ రెండు ఒకటే అదే జీవితం అనే జీవితంలో రెండింటినీ సమానంగా ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తాం?
రెండు ఏం లేవు. Says whether the spiritual life and worldly life, are they separate or they are one? If they are separate, how to balance them? In fact, there are no two lives. You live only one life. How to say whether it is spiritual or worldly is, it depends upon the object, the goal, the source from which you derive your fulfillment. If you want to derive your fulfillment from a worldly object, you call it a worldly life. And if you want to derive the same happiness and fulfillment from the so-called spiritual source, then it's called a spiritual life. What is the difference between the two? Usually, normally, it is like this. Because either you have to choose between the two. They tell you, if you read any book on spirituality and Vedanta, they say you have to choose between the two. Either you have to choose worldly life or spiritual life. For them, whether you are spiritual or worldly, you can't live both. Or if anybody wants to do it, they call it a different name, as if it is a compromise, a karma yoga, and these kind of yogas. As if it is a compromise. You have to evolve to Jnana Yoga slowly. It's okay. First do Karma Yoga. By saying that, they have a feeling of a compromise. Oh, they are not up to that level. But what happens with Baba is, Baba never differentiated between the two. He picked up the real, whether it is worldly or spiritual. What is the source, what is the basis of a man's endeavor? Why people strive? Whether it is a worldly striving or a spiritual striving, whatever it is, why people strive? It is the fulfillment, the happiness. So, usually our mind is, our sense of fulfillment, our concept of fulfillment is through worldly objects only. So if you tell them, no, this is not the fulfillment, they experience it is the fulfillment. They want money, they have a problem, and unless it is solved, they can't be happy. But if you say that is all Maya, even if you feel unhappy also, it is not real. The real happiness lies somewhere there. They may listen, they may, out of respect, they may say, okay, it's okay. But it can't go into their heart. They can't understand it really. then they see that it's not for them. It becomes too irrelevant and intangible. So, what Baba did was, as doing is, he wants to fulfill our desires by his power, by his tapashakti. And once we know that he is the source of the fulfillment, then slowly the shift goes from the actual object of the desire to the one that who gives that object. So there are various different kinds of objects through which we wish to derive our happiness. And when there is one source which could give all these things, then our mind starts focusing more and more on it. And slowly, as the love towards him develops, then the pull towards these objects, they got weakened. And then the pull towards Baba only remains. Because there is no insecurity. If we ask, he will give. But we don't feel like asking. We don't derive any more pleasure or happiness through it. So we don't care about it. Not that they are bad, not that they are worldly, not that they are maya or illusion or delusion and so on. Simply because we don't feel like we are experiencing it, we don't want it. Then the pull, the strings are released. Then where we land at the feet of Baba. That making us understand that he can give. First we try our own place. Right. But once we realize that we can't try and we can't get it, and then we experience that he is giving you, then we start depending upon, looking towards him more and more. And then he becomes the focus, the focal point of all our thoughts. That is what, in spite of all the lectures, the satsangs, the reading, that you have to concentrate on Ishta, on your Sadguru, on God, people can't do it. But here it becomes natural. It may take time, but at least after some time it happens, and it is happening. That's what we're all seeing, how it is happening, how naturally it is unfolding. Not denying the world. Where you are, you start. And he takes care of it. He knows what to give you.
So there is no wrong in expecting our wish to get fulfilled, like material things, till we reach that stage where we can totally...
Whether we don't reach it also, what is the problem? That is his problem, not our problem.
So we don't have to feel guilty.
Nothing. No guilt at all. That guiltiness is the result of the so-called spiritual tradition, which says this is all maya, this is all bad, this is evil. If you go to some people and I want to know something about spirituality, first leave the world and come to me. If you could leave the world, there is no need for the Upadesh at all. It's where usually that I tell the example of Ramana Maharshi. One day, one lady came to Bhagavan, and she sat in front of him and listened to some of his words, and she got very much thrilled, and then she said, Bhagavan, I have come to ask you for jnana, for mukti, and if you give me mukti, I don't want anything. I only come mukti. I don't want anything else. I don't have any desires at all. I am coming for you only for mukti, and if you give me, I will feel blessed. So Bhagavan said, sorry. And again she asked, and again he simply nodded. He simply said, okay. And then that lady left. Her duty is over and she left. And as she left the hall, he started laughing like anything, holding his belly and almost rolling on his sofa. Such an uncontrolled, he was controlling himself. When this lady leaves the room, and so that he could laugh heartily. And as soon as he left, he started rolling on the sofa. And then all the devotees around him asked, "Why, Bhagavan, why are you laughing like that?" No, no, no. Just listening to her, what she asked, I felt like laughing. What is wrong in it? We are all such a comfort that home. Is the desire such a laughable thing? No, no, not that. If anybody experiences that they don't want anything, they don't have any desires, what remains is mukti. What is that I am going to give them? So, it's such a paradox, that word. I don't want anything, only mukti. That meaning. If you have that state of I don't want anything, that is mukti. And people are not ready for that. And there Baba comes. This is why even such a, almost you can say, an embodiment of renunciation and vairagya like Vemana. Actually, these words we can't expect from the mouth of Vemana. But he said, Ihamu ledu, parame garadanu vaadi mata kalla mata. A saint, by Vemana, a great yogi, he said, if anybody says there is nothing in the world, this is all bad, give it up. And only there is the para is there. That he is lying. He is telling you false things. He is deceiving you. Don't believe him. Ihamulona paramu chupagalevadu. That a Sadguru, the one that who can show you that para, the so-called the spirit, here in the world, he is a Sadguru. And as far as I know, Baba is a Sadguru. He is such a one. He never asked you to eschew, to give up, to renounce, thinking that it's all bad, it's all worse. Even though he lived a life of a sannyasi, a fakir, but he never advised, he never told anybody. And he has been showing us the so-called the spiritual in here in the world. And he fulfills perfectly the definition of the Sadguru which Vemana has given. And either it is due to the not able to understand properly the tradition, the Vedantic tradition, or the incapacity to take care of the people's worldly wishes, that people start saying, this is all not well, don't ask anything, don't ask any worldly desire. Everything is fate, everything is destiny. What is going to happen will happen. This is all your karma, your prarabdha. And if anything bad happens, it is also good for you. Your prarabdha is gone, these kinds of things. This is not here in Baba's tradition. His tradition is different. He has the power. He has the capacity to fulfill and take care. Whether it is a small and petty worldly thing, or it is a so-called very big thing like mukti. Both he can handle. In one finger. With one finger he can handle. What else?
Could you share your first experience with Baba?
First to second to third. There's nothing like that. My first experience is when I looked at him always, even when I was a boy, that somehow that I felt attracted to him. A sense of belongingness was there. That was my first experience. I didn't know even his name, what he is. I think when I was a boy, there was a photo in our house. And I used to ask my grandmother, Because then all the gods and goddesses, they have these crowns, jewels, and some human, some animals, faces, different kind of gods and goddesses are there. But he looks different. He looks so human, like an ordinary person. He's the only one among all this, the whole the pantheon, that he used to be like that. So I used to ask, who is he? She also didn't know. She said he's a big Shiva Bhakta. Then what is he doing? In that photo is a painting, there was hills painted around. There was a small a horse and a hill, a mountain. And still I think those paintings were available. You see the old houses. He is doing tapas in Himalayas. On whom he is doing tapas? Because what we do know about tapas is only from the movies. In those movies, in Bhukailas, in these movies, that they used to do tapas on Shiva. So on whom that he is doing tapas? On Shiva. Spontaneously she used to give answers. She never used to say that I don't know. Because she was a teacher, she knows how to give such answers. Ready-made answers. Shiva Bhakta, living in Himalayas. That's all. He didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. But somehow that I had a feeling. Whenever I entered that shrine, I used to more and more look at him. Somehow, he's a likable chap. Somehow I like him. He looks so tangible, so human, with whom that I could easily relate to. The other figures are so strange. That was my first experience. And that was my first knowledge also of Baba. Not that somebody told me about Baba, his greatness, his mahima, and so that I got attracted to him. Without any knowledge about him, I got attracted to him.
And how did you find out more about Baba?
Yeah, I never even tried to find out. But later in my college days, when I happened to meet my guru, he happened to be a Sai Baba devotee, and then he told me. Then it was easy for me to relate. Because I could not relate to any other gods and goddesses easily. And even now I can't connect. And I wanted to know something, and I read and read and read. But I didn't see any tangible answer to say, this is Brahman, this is beyond walk, beyond speech, beyond mind. It cannot be burned, it cannot be that, it cannot be this. It is indescribable. If you say it is indescribable, it's ineffable, the mind can't go there, your speech can't describe it, why do you try to describe again? Why do you think about it? It is something, whether it is inhuman, superhuman, or whatever it is. I am human. I have misery. I have something lacking. I want something. I want to experience it here with my mind. The so-called mind, that mind which is experiencing misery, that mind needs a solution. Not that if you lose the whole thing, that you will get the solution. I have a disease. I want to be cured. If you die, nothing will happen. No, there will be no body, no health, no question of disease. Everything is all right. I don't want that solution. And it felt, that is not true, that it felt in those days when I was a boy, that it was that kind of answer. It feels as if operation success, patient died. When the moment you get mukti, I try for mukti because I have misery, I have dukkha. And the moment I try, I do tapas and I do all the spiritual endeavors, your mind is not there. Your mind is gone. Then what are you going to get it? And what is the guarantee that you got a solution to the problem of your mind? When that mind is not the one that is experiencing that bliss. Because the moment you are trying that experience, that mind is not there. Amanaska. So, operation success, but this patient died. With whom actually my treatment has started. I don't want that. I used to think like that. It's about 16, 17 years old boy. Those days my thoughts I am saying. So with Baba, that kind of a tangibility has come. Even though that I didn't know that. When I started reading about him, knowing more and more about him, he is like me. And it seems he is someone that who has got answers in a human plane. Humanly it is possible. Because till then, I didn't know anything about saints. Only Vedanta, Upanishads, only these scriptures. And these scriptures only talk about either Atma or Paramatma or the gods and goddesses. They seem so beyond, they are not human. But my problem is human. I want somebody who has solved the problem humanly, with whom that I can relate myself. It should look more relevant. And there Baba came. That was my first experience with Baba. If you call it an experience, yes.
You said then you only knew about the scriptures and the gods, you didn't know about saints.
Yes, I did know.
And then how did you start knowing about the saints?
When I started putting all these questions and started discussing with my master, then the first thing he did was, no, now we'll stop discussing, just read this book. And then he gave the self-realization by B. Narasimha Swami, the life of Ramana Maharshi. That was the first life of a saint I read. Then Ramana looked even more human, more tangible. Even Baba seemed somewhat ethereal, somewhat beyond our reach. But Ramana Maharshi seemed very tangible, very reasonable. So I could easily connect with him. So if he can get it, why can't I get it?
You said that Baba attracted you because of his humanness. And then...
I don't know why it attracted. To me at that time, what I described was what I felt about 35 years ago. I do not know how. Maybe this may be filtered also. In those days, that is how that happened. It seemed that was the thing that attracted me. Because there is no other reason. Because I didn't know anything about him. If I know he was a powerful man, at least okay, the power attracted him. Or he was like a very handsome figure, like in those days, in those days when I was watching movies, those movie stars, no. In what way that he could be able to attract me? I think it is only the humanness.
But then you just spoke about Bhagavan as being so even more human, more approachable, more reasonable and so on. How come Baba remained with you as the strongest core rather than somehow finding Bhagavan as the one you were more attached to in the end? And why did a switch not occur there for you?
I don't know, but it seems that I could be like him, but he is the one who can make me like that. I'm not saying that is what actually happened.
Right.
It was what? The feeling. There is two things. That one is a goal, but the one that who takes us to the goal. He looks like a degree, but he's the teacher who teaches me to get the degree. It is the goal, and there is the means. It's not that somewhat that I am basing on what he is and what is that. It's not a question of discussion. It's a feeling. It could be the otherwise around also. I'm not saying that someone is greater and someone is less. No, it's not the intention of my saying. That is what I felt.
For you, Baba always felt like the means.
Yes, he's the means.
And the goal, sir? And what was the goal?
నిజానికి గోల్ అంటే ఏం లేదు, లోపల ఏదో తెలియనటువంటి ఆర్తి కొరత ఉండేది. ఆ కొరత తీరాలి. ఏంటో తెలియదు. You do not know what it is. Something is lacking. You want to get something. Even though tangibly we do not know what it is. Everything is there. If you think, yes, we have everything. But still there is something lacking. It makes me miserable. Very frustrated. Dry, drab. Almost restless. And I do not know why this restlessness is coming. And I was so restless and felt so dry. I think that was the only description that I could give. Dry. I felt so dryness. Even in those days, if you see my photo also, even now I can also see the dryness. And that was intolerable. Almost a torture. And there is no reasons for that. We do not know why it is, how it will go, because if we know why it is coming, then we can think of how it can go also. I didn't have an idea why it is there. By getting what, the restlessness will go, but also I didn't know. But the only thing that I could think of is, when I think of Baba, that restlessness is coming down a little bit. Why it is coming down, that also we didn't know. What is the relationship between this restlessness and Baba? That also we didn't know. So more and more I used to think about.
Did that sense of Baba being the means in that experience you just described?
It was the experience.
Became
That's all.
stronger and stronger.
That was how that I felt. We do not know why it is, but it is. It was like that. So as long as that it was like that, it was the thing that it started giving me happiness. Not that because I'm able to get happiness that I started meditating on Baba. If I don't think of him, I felt restless. So it was almost imperative. There is no other go for me. So more and more, more and more.
In the reading of the lives of the saints, what was that? What did it give to you?
I told you. A sense of relevance, a sense of tangibility, a sense of humanness, that which can be reachable, easily reachable. That is why if anybody asks me how to meditate on Baba, I don't have the habit of giving upadesa to anybody. Baba hasn't given. I do not know any upadesa. If anybody comes and asks me how to meditate, how to do japa, how to do puja, I don't know. Because that problem was not there for me. But all the problem was there, how more and more, in what more ways that I could be able to think of him, keep mind. Actually, the problem was how to keep it away from him. Because it was not possible. The student, I had to study, and what I am doing should not be known to the elders, because we have to do it stealthily, because they will scold us. We are all fortunate. In fact, most of the boys here now, they have the full support of the parents. They are coming with their parents. But our life was different. We used to do it stealthily, hiding. And so much of resistance from the environment. So the only thing I tell you is, when we say how to do sadhana, how to meditate, the only way is to ignite that love. If once that love is there, what you get is the natural meditation. If that love is not there, whatever you do, you can't meditate. And if you want techniques, thousands of books out there, you can read and learn. There are so many people who can give you beautiful techniques of meditation and yoga. I do not know all those. What is the use of techniques? Is it the lack of techniques that we are not able to meditate? It is that what we want. It should cater to your needs. It should be your need. Meditation should be your need, your necessity. When you have a need, nobody needs to tell you. You think about it. You immediately start trying to think about it, get obsessed with it, and try to get a solution for it. And it should become that need. And how to make it the need? The love. How the love is triggered? As just now, for the first question of our satsang, the contact. Knowing more and more about it. That is the only way. As I told you, in many examples, just like we're all like some pieces of iron, and Baba is the magnet. Outside, from an outside view, they're both the same. If you take a magnet, magnet, and a piece of iron, see, both look the same, but it is different. We call it a magnet. It has power, the magnetic power. It is a piece of iron. It doesn't have any power. But in constitution, by nature, both are iron. They look alike. He's also human. He looks like it. But what makes a magnet, and what makes an iron an iron? In the iron, the different molecules are in a state of disorder. Every molecule has its magnetic power, and this molecule has the power, but they are not polarized. So this molecule's magnetic power is antidoted by this molecule's magnetic power. So basically nothing is coming out, even though magnetic power is there inside. So how to make this piece of iron another magnet? That is what is happening to us also. We have so many desires, so many pulls, and each pull is in clash with something else. We have so many pulls. We want to fulfill them all, but they are in opposite to each other, to one another. We want to come to Tiruvannamalai, and something tells us, I don't want to come to Tiruvannamalai. We want to stay a few more days. No, I don't want to stay some more days. Always a clash. This clash makes you a piece of iron. But how to resolve this clash? How to make a piece of iron a magnet? By rubbing the piece of iron on the magnet. After some time, what is happening there? Is the number of molecules changed in the piece of iron? Or does it change its color? Nothing. What happens is all the molecules, all the things, they get polarized. They get ordered. Once they get ordered, it becomes magnet. What makes it is the same philosophy. There is the goal, there is the theory, and there is the practice also. How to make it? Being in constant touch with whatever the magnet that you think. Baba is our magnet. Try to be with him mentally and if possible physically. The close proximity, the touch. Nothing change. And you don't lose any of your desires. The clash is only resolved, that's all. The pulls are there and everything is there and they get fulfilled. Only they become orderly. They become harmonized. The entropy has gone. That is the basis of sadhana. And great saints like Ravana Maharshi, that is what they told. Actually, beautifully, Ravana Maharshi actually called it a mountain of a magnet, a magnetic mountain. And he was attracted to it, a piece of iron, and transformed it into another magnet. So much so that once he came, he never left the place. That was his magnet. And he stuck to the magnet like a piece of iron. And even after he became a magnet himself, he never left. That was even a great saint, a Siddha like Ravana Maharshi himself shown it in his practice. And what about us? He needed it? That to be always at the feet of his object? Was it needed for Baba to be at his Guru's tomb? This is my Guru's place. I want to be here. They showed us. Your Guru is the magnet. Baba is our magnet. Baba is our Guru. And we're all pieces of iron. And let us try to rub our actions, our thoughts, our physical actions, everything that we have, and try to rub on that iron. And we become that. Do you follow?
It's a process of progression. I mean, when in your analogy of rubbing against the piece of iron, progressively the iron becomes more of a magnet. It seems that the one who is a magnet is also very much a magnetic personality. Is that also a progressive thing, that one becomes more of a
Nothing. If it is a magnet and you are a piece of iron, that we know. That is no doubt about it. So, if it is a magnet, it gets attracted to it. That's all. If it is not magnet, it won't. So that is why that I told you what is your Guru is. Not because of any other criteria, where your mind is naturally attracted to it. Somehow it is pulled towards that form. Just as I told you in my own case of Baba. I do not know anything, not any reasons. Not that he gave very good lectures and he's a scholar. Actually, in those days, when I was young, unless you would have been a scholar like that, I would have not been attracted. But nothing. Something that you feel, that a sense of security, a sense of bliss, a sense of happiness. And your mind is automatically goes towards him again and again. The best word that I could get, how the first place that we can relate to our Guru is a familiar stranger. We do not know anything about him, but he is so familiar. We know him so much, so intimate he is. But at the same time, it looks so an enigma. We not know anything about him. That strangeness is something makes us a mystery and attracts. And this intimacy, sense of intimacy, the familiarity breeds love. It is familiar, it is strange. It is strangely familiar, it is familiarly strange. It is strange, both. And with whom that you experience this, that familiarity, where that you feel at ease, that sense of security, and at the same time the sense of mystery.
So the sense of
The
mystery-
sense of mystery makes you think about him, to know more about him. Think even 20 years, Baba is still a mystery, an enigma. We know him, we do not know him. That with whom that you get at the first instance itself. The moment you hear about him, or you look at him, or you even to look at his picture, that you get that feeling. Yeah, I know him. What about him? I do not know about him. You feel so familiar, at the same time so strange. And we love it. We love that experience. That is the sign of the magnet there. Your magnet there. Maybe in the analogy only there is only an iron and a magnet. But here there are different kinds, the human pieces are different kinds of irons and different kinds of magnet. We have to know what our magnet is.
And the sense of mystery is always there. It never goes. Or does it go?
We'll see. We'll try to solve it. Maybe it goes. Maybe it doesn't go. But that itself gives a thrill. Not that mystery is something painful. It is more thrilling. That is why that people enjoy thrillers, mystery movies, mystery novels. Right? It is so enjoyable.
మీరు చెప్పిన ఈ రబ్బింగ్ అగేన్స్ట్ ద మ్యాగ్నెట్ అనే ఎనాలజీలో మన సైడ్ నుంచి ప్రొయాక్టివ్గా వీ షుడ్ ట్రై టు ఇన్వాల్వ్ మోర్ అండ్ మోర్ ఇన్ బాబా యాక్టివిటీస్. అయితే చేయవలసినంత నేను చేస్తానని బాబాయ్ చెప్పిన దానికి దీనికి ఏమైనా విరుద్ధమైన భావం ఏమైనా ఉందా?
రెండిటికి క్లాష్ ఎక్కడ ఉంది అసలు? మనం చేయటం అనేది ఏదో సాధన కింద చేయటంలా. మీరు ఇదంతా ఏదో సాధన అనుకోకండి. మీకు ఇష్టమైన వ్యక్తి గురించి ఆలోచించటం, ఆయన గురించి ఆ స్మరణలో ఉండటం, అది సాధన. ఇదొక సాధన, ఇదొక యోగం, దీన్నంతా ఈ రకంగా చేయాలా. డోంట్ థింక్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్ దోస్ లైన్స్ దట్ దిస్ ఈస్ అ సాధన అండ్ ఎండేవర్. వీ హ్యావ్ టు డూ ఎన్ ఎఫర్ట్. When we come to Tiruvannamalai, we have to do all sadhana. Always focused, always serious. It's not like that. Just as if you like, if you go to a movie and how you enjoy it, full consent. If anybody will the next seat, if you disturb, not that there is a rule that one should not disturb anybody and you should not be disturbed. That simply you can't. You are still too much focused. It should be like that. Enjoy it like that. Whatever the way. See that your mind is focused on that, on Baba. In whatever ways. If you start doing in one way, then suddenly it gets bored. You get immunized. Then take another thing and do it. Whatever you do, as long as it is on Baba, it is sadhana. And explore 1,000 ways, 10,000 ways, million ways, 10 million ways. And if I tell you 2 or 3 techniques, it is only confined to 2-3 techniques. But now what I am telling you is umpteen, millions and millions of techniques you yourself can evolve and adopt, create. And you are the author of your own techniques.
షిరిడీలో నందాదీపం
తెలియదు, ఎవరికి తెలియదు. బాబా పెట్టారు అక్కడ. మనం తెలుసుకోవాల్సిందంటే ఆయన ఎందుకు పెట్టాడు అని కాదు, బాబా పెట్టాడు కనుక మనకు చాలా మనం దానికి దర్శనం చేసుకురావాలి. ఇట్ ఆస్కింగ్ వై నందదీప్ ఈస్ దేర్, వాట్ ఎవర్ ద రీజన్స్ వై బాబా lit the నందదీప్ ఫర్ us, because బాబా lit it, it is sacred to us. That's all. Anything connected to Baba, we like. It is adorable, we worship it, we relate to it. Whatever the significance of its own, whatever it is. Because he called it Nandadeep, we also call it Nandadeep. Otherwise, it is Sai Deep for us. Kentaya. What else?
సార్ సాధనా రాశారు గడియారంలో పెద్ద ముళ్ళు బాహ్య ప్రవృత్తి, చిన్న ముళ్ళు అంత ప్రవృత్తి అంటే ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అర్థం కాదు.
ఇంకా రావటం, ఈ సత్సంగాలు, ఆల్ దిస్ యాక్టివిటీ దట్ వీ డూ ఈస్ ద లాంగ్ హ్యాండ్. ఇట్ మూవ్స్ క్విక్లీ, యూ సీ ఇట్ మోర్, but you don't see the movement of the short hand. And when it is moving, you always say, why there is no experience, why there is no change. It's not so conspicuous. But at some time, suddenly if you see the clock, you see that the short hand is also on some other figure. But you don't observe the movement. But this you can easily observe. That is what I said. But by what that we actually, the time is designated is by the short hand. Because the long hand moves and moves and moves. But this is more significant, but it is not visible. The transformation, the inner transformation is like that. These satsangs, these bhajans, these activities, these long and short hands, satsangs, all these are like that long hand moving. But in order to make that short hand move, the long hand also has to move. Because that is what it moves. I don't believe this satsang will make you enlightened and you will give knowledge with my lectures and this and nothing. Just as an opportunity to sit with you for some time. That's all. What we speak now, the content, I don't think it is very important, because I don't believe in lectures, in verbal teaching. And if it is so good, Baba would have taught, given lectures, moving around the whole world. What he didn't do, why should I do? That is why I also don't lecture and I don't do satsang. It is not a satsang. To me, it is not a satsang. Just sitting together for some time. Because we have to talk something, we will talk about this matter. Because what Baba does, he does it not by any verbal teachings. His way is different. He gives. He never says, I will give you, do this and do that, don't do that. If you do that, I won't give you. If you do this, I will give you. Nothing like that. He knows how to give. That is what my experience. This is all just a pretext for all of us to sit together. It's just like that, all other things. Whatever you feel like, which can express your love, do it. That is sadhana, that is bhakti, that is yoga, that is seva, whatever you call it. How to relate ourselves to it, how to express our love and experience the love. The more and more you express, the more and more you experience it. So the expression is needed. To some people it feels, why should we express our love? If the love is in our heart, is it needed? Is it not enough? They say it, but will they do it in all the aspects like that? When they go, when the Baba's photo is there, then like this, they'll say. They need not say, why should we show? Oh, my respect is there in my heart. My bhakti is there in my heart. Why should I show? But when the moment they go to their house, they take their child and kiss. Is it necessary? And on a birthday, you give clothes and you give ties, and for now and then you see, and then you just fondle his hair. It's all needed. If your love is there for your child, is it there? Always. Why should you show? But there we have to show. Only with Baba we need not show. It's also just like the more and more that you show your love, it expresses. This is only our ego, our false ego, good for nothing ego, that gives this kind of definitions. Oh, why should we show this? It's a show business. But we can have all the show business with other things. I'm not asking you to make a show business, but don't resist in your own way. Not to show it to somebody else. When we show our love to the child, not because other people will recognize it. Just like we treat the child, show your love to Baba also. Not a demonstration to others. Because you love it, you like it, you enjoy it. The more and then more express it, the experience is more. The more the experience, the more the expression. And it goes on. Is there anything?
గురుగారు ప్రేమ అనేది ఒక్కటే కదా గురుగారు. తల్లిదండ్రుల ప్రేమకి, పిల్లల ప్రేమకి, భార్యాభర్తల ప్రేమకి, గురువుగారి ప్రేమకి డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంటే అది ఏంటి?
మిగతా వాటి గురించి నీకేం అనుమానం లేదు కదా. నీకు వచ్చే అనుమానం అంతా గురువు గారి ప్రేమ. అదే డిఫరెన్స్. వాడి సంగతి పూర్తిగా నీకు తెలుసు, దీని సంగతి నీకు పూర్తిగా తెలియదు. కాబట్టి తెలుసుకోవడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేస్తాను.
నా మనసుకి అయితే ఒక ఈ ప్రేమే నాకు ప్యూర్ లవ్గా అనిపిస్తున్నారు. వేరేదంతా సెల్ఫిష్నెస్లో ఏదో ఉన్నట్టు అనిపిస్తున్నారు.
అందులో ప్యూరీ ఇంప్యూరీ ఏంటయ్యా?
అదే లవ్
ఏం లేదు, అట్లాంటివి ఏమి ఉండవు. అందరూ వాళ్ళ దాని ప్రకారంగా నేను చేస్తాను.
అంటే అది ఇప్పుడు తల్లిదండ్రి ఇప్పుడు నేను కొడుకుని కాబట్టి వాళ్ళని ప్రేమిస్తాను.
తప్పేం కాదు, అది కరెక్టే కదా.
అంటే
దాంట్లో impurity ఏముందయ్యా?
నన్ను ప్రేమించినట్టుగా ఇంకా వేరే వాళ్ళని ప్రేమించలేదు కదా.
ప్రేమించలేకపోవచ్చు.
మీరు మాత్రం అందరినీ ఇప్పుడు శృతిని ఎట్లా ప్రేమిస్తారో
అది
అందరికీ
ఎక్కువ ప్రేమ తక్కువ ప్రేమ అని అన్నాను. కొంచెం లిమిటెడ్గా అన్లిమిటెడ్ ప్రేమ. ప్యూర్ లవ్ ఇంప్యూర్ లవ్ అనుకో. తల్లిదండ్రి ప్రేమ ఇంప్యూర్ లవ్ కాదు, అది లిమిటెడ్ టు యువర్ ఓన్ their own children. There is nothing wrong in it. But it is not impure. But it is only confined, it is only limited. And whereas Baba's love is unbounded, unconditional, unlimited. That is the only difference. The love of the Sadguru, the love of the person. But there is no pure or impure love.
When you were talking just now in the analogy of the clock hands in terms of transformation, I had a question about fast and slow, and I wasn't clear what the question is, but were you saying that there is no such thing as fast and slow in transformation? Because fast and slow are so relative. Are they relative to what, if there is such a thing as fast and slow?
Yes. Always we refer to this fast and slow having a reference point. And there is no need for such a reference point. Always we should be our own reference point. And if you want to have any reference point, keep some of the things, how you were 1 year ago, how you were 10 years ago, how you are now. Make these reference points, whether it is slow or fast. And if you want really fast, do you really want fast? Actually, it is not the thing. People simply say that it is not fast, they complain. But if I really make it faster, they don't like it. They want to be like this, but because we have to complain, I have to say to show that it's not fast, it's not. For how long it will take? Already 5 years, already 10 years.
ఈసార్లు బాబా ఫోటో కనబడ్డా నమస్కారం పెట్టుకోవాలి
పెట్టుకోవాలి.
అవసరమా అని అంటారు.
భయపడి పెట్టాలి అంటే
He's asking every time we see Baba's photo, we have to do namaskar. When you are constant, what is the solution to avoid that is always doing namaskar to Baba. If you perpetually, even if Baba's, you don't see Baba's photo also, if you do namaskar in the heart, there is no need. So always be in a perpetual state of namaskar. Only that person doesn't need to do this, the outward expression. Otherwise, you have to do it. I do it. There's nothing wrong in it. When we see a boss in the office, when you go this side and when he comes it, namaste. We don't feel ashamed to do that. Only with Baba that we have that problem. No, I will do it. More and more I will see. See that I will keep Baba's photo everywhere. 100 photos in 100 places in my house. So that makes me do namaskar at every step. Do it like that. That's what another thing which I usually observe in the satsangs is many people, they do a small mistake. Many people do, not all. They had think of prestige, self-respect, their own status in the society, how to be treated, how to be respected by others, and these kinds of things are there. And they very easily adjust outside in the world. If they have a need and if they go and if they ask them to just to wait for 2 hours in the corridor, they don't mind. If they go to a minister, they don't see him. No, they don't bother about it. But when they came here to Baba, their self-respect, their prestige, their status, all these things come. If they ask for interview, immediately it should be given. Otherwise, they feel offended. And they should be treated in such a way that their social stature has to be all to be kept in mind. But actually, it is the place where that one should not feel any self-respect. We don't have any respect at all here. No sense of prestige, no sense of status. And under no circumstances and by all these things to get offended. Here we have to give up all these things. But what we do is, we try to follow this here and give it up outside in the world. There it doesn't matter, self-respect is not there. Then we take it and do it in the name of spirituality. As a Baba devotee, why should we feel like this? And then we go and stand before the minister's house for 10 hours. But when we come here, we can't stay for half an hour in front of Baba's house. It is good to ask. Nothing wrong in asking for an interview. Absolutely nothing wrong in it. But asking only shows our desire, our love. And we should always know when it is exactly proper time, when it is needed, Baba will give. And before we get the interview, the result of the interview is the interview, the view inside, the inside view. That is the real interview. Unless you have this insight, This interview has no meaning at all. It only enhances people's egos. And it's not the place to fan people's egos. It's the place where we have to crush it. We have to see that it totally vanishes. You may feel the self-respect, the social status, decency, decorum, all these things outside the world. But once you come to Baba, you have to give up all these things. It doesn't apply here. Just as I told you, we always feel like beggars in front of Baba's door. He himself showed himself being a king. He walked like a beggar in the streets of Shirdi. That feeling, that egolessness. Kabir said, मैं राम का मोती हूँ. I am Ram's dog. That is how that he himself compared himself. That is how he related himself to Baba, to his Ram. Just like a dog, he has given just a biscuit, and it goes wagging its tail and always going round here. Maybe only a biscuit. Feel like that. Never have these feelings of this ego, or this man has spoken to me like this, that man offended me, this man was disrespectful. We should ignore these things. Why you have come here? Focus on it. And respect the ego. These things should not be there. Always feel like that. Whether you are in Shirdi or in Baba's picture itself. That is the feeling you should get.
ప్రయత్నం వల్ల పొందలేని గ్రేస్ని అందాక ఒప్పుకున్నాం కదా సార్. మరి గురువు గ్రేస్ని పొందే ప్రయత్నంలో మనం కంప్లీట్ అవుతున్నాం అనుకోండి, తప్పే కదా మన ప్రయత్నం. ఐ మీన్ బేసిక్లీ ఇక్కడ అది పారాడాక్స్ లాగానే ఉంటుంది.
నిజంగా కంప్లీట్ ఏముంటుంది దాంట్లో? ఎందుకంటే నీ ఎఫర్ట్ వల్ల జరిగేదేం కాదు అది, నీ ప్రేమ వల్ల జరిగేటట్టు. నీ ప్రేమ అనేటువంటిది పాత్ర లాంటిది, అంటే సముద్రం లాంటిది. నువ్వు పాత్రను పెంచుకుంటూ పోవటమే కావాల్సింది అక్కడ, అంతకంటే. నీకు పాత్ర పెరిగితే అంతా వస్తుంది. There is no choice from the other side, whether to give or not, whether to come or not. It comes. We are like, I think the analogy that I have given in many times in the Satsangs, we are like an empty vessel. You know, you take bath in the vessel, an empty vessel. Tomorrow you experimented it with a narrow neck vessel. You try to put it straight topsy way to the bucket. The bucket is full of water, and try to put it upside down. Then the water will get into the vessel. Why? Because it is full of air. The air obstructs it. Even if you full push it up to the bottom, no, not even a drop of water enters. Now, as Baba himself has said, your all parts turned down. Baba once said, your all parts turned down. Your all parts turned down. And we are in the ocean of Baba's grace. But topsy-turvy, that we are just plunging. Go to Shirdi. We still there, but the topsy-turvy. What is there inside is air. In our is gas. Full of gas. Just when you are pushing it down, just tilt it a little bit. Just one angle, 1 degree. Then you have the bubbles will go out. That 1 degree, the water will get in. Another 1 degree, more water. More and more. After a certain period, there is no need for you to turn. Because the pressure the air in the vessel, if it's more, water pressure is more, then it takes away. And till then, the tilting should be there. And the moment that 1 degree is the air is gone out, the 1 degree of water will come inside. There is no question of waiting. Now the air has gone, shall we get into? And these bubbles which go out, they are the experiences that we have. That only shows that some gas has gone. These are the experiences. They come out of the grace. The grace always comes like there is no choice. It always, just like the water around the vessel, is striving hard, is trying, waiting to get inside the vessel. So Baba's grace is always trying round us to get into you. But we are not allowing it. Just tilt it. And that tilting is the namaskar. Always feel that you are that vessel and that tilting is the namaskar. Just bending there.